Israel has expanded its bombing campaign in Lebanon by targeting at least 3 areas outside traditional Hezbollah strongholds. The town of Deir Bella in northern Lebanon was hit by an Israeli airstrike for the first time since hostilities escalated. This is the aftermath. 2 people were killed, 4 others were injured. A strike targeting Maaysrah killed at least 9 people. In Barja, 4 people were killed by an attack. And many people fled to northern Lebanon in order to escape Israeli airstrikes elsewhere in the country. And this has prompted further concern about an expansion of the war. There's also widespread destruction in Nabatieh, that's in southern Lebanon, after an Israeli airstrike hit a market there. First responders say a fire broke out after the attack, and that stopped them from reaching the scene. At least 8 people were injured. Nabatieh has come under several Israeli attacks since cross-border hostilities escalated last month. I said, you're in the village of Tamnin El Tahta, that's in the Bekaa Valley in eastern Lebanon. And by the looks of it, you are inside a local hospital, which I understand has just been forced to close because of repeated Israeli airstrikes.
Absolutely. We're on the outskirts of that village, Tamnin, where this hospital is based. Now, late on Saturday night, there was another airstrike. There's been 4 so far in close proximity to this hospital. Now, we're told it hit around 100 to 150 meters away. And I'm standing, in fact, in the accident and emergency ward. And if I step aside, our cameraman Jamil can show you one of the assessment rooms, and you can see what the shockwave has done. It's broken the glass, it's strewn across the floor, parts of the ceiling have come down, and some of the equipment has been damaged. Now, we've spoken to the management of the hospital, and they say that they have no other choice but to close down. It was full of patients when that airstrike hit last night. And I can just show you, this is an accident emergency ward. The windows have been blown out, and you can see straight outside onto the grounds. But at the same time, there's glass that flew across onto these beds. And in fact, there's still pieces of glass on this bed and even bloodstains on the sheets that I can see. But at the same time, the entrance and the radiology department, all that has sustained considerable damage. Now, they say that there's just no way of knowing when the next airstrike will happen, and there's no way of, protecting the hospital. If I can get Jamil to show you the radiology room where the ceiling has come down and the X-ray machines have been damaged. And this is, again, the 4th time an airstrike has hit in close proximity to the hospital. Now, they've told us that most patients that could have been discharged have been discharged. Others have been transferred to other hospitals, and that's the entrance of the hospital where the ceiling has collapsed, and there's just no way of receiving patients. Now, they say they want to reopen in a few days, but they're still fearful of what will happen if Israel continues airstrikes. And you can imagine the kind of fear and terror of patients when they were here last night when that airstrike struck. But that just gives you an idea of what's happening in the Bekaa Valley with those Israeli airstrikes taking place.
No, absolutely. And it shows us how civilian life, ordinary civilian life, and everyday things like getting treatment in a hospital is completely disrupted when civilian areas are turned into a war zone. Look, you may not have the answer to this question, but do you know what happened to those patients? Are they still receiving treatment somewhere else?
Yeah, so the ones that could have been discharged have been discharged. But what they have done is transferred others to other hospitals in the area. Now, I was just at Riyadh Hospital and I saw some of those patients there. But I also came across a small child that was pulled out the rubble. In fact, there was footage of that child being pulled out the rubble in Karak. And he's still receiving treatment. His head was bandaged. But also, that hospital is also damaged because of airstrikes, and sometimes there's shockwaves from those airstrikes. And again, these are not direct hits. These are just in close proximity to the hospitals, 100 meters, 150 meters, 200 meters, causing the glass to break, throwing it across the floor, across the wards. And so even in that hospital, Riyadh, they've had to clean up this morning after a night of another round of Israeli airstrikes in the Bekaa Valley.
Asad Beg reporting from inside this hospital, which has just had to shut down and discharge some of its patients, send other patients, those who still needed care, to other neighboring medical facilities. Thank you very much for that report, Asad.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.